Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
Aaron. Welcome back, people. How's it going?
It's going pretty well, man. Feels good to be back. Good to see you in the flesh, my man. How are you?
Always doing well. Well, not always,
Nice.
but I'm doing well today. So,
That's what we like to hear, dude.
how are
What do
you,
you got
man?
going on?
I'm good. It's been a weird week. I had a doctor's appointment towards the end of last week. Got myself on some new ADHD medicine, which I'm excited about because it actually seems to be making a big difference in my everyday life. So,
Now, wait, when did you get them? How long have you been on them? What are you noticing?
um, so got them on Saturday. Took the first one on Sunday because I wanted to do a little uh, test run and not just start it right off on a work day, just in
Right.
case there were some side effects or it made me feel too weird or something. But the main thing, well, the first thing that I noticed is I don't sleep well, first off. So I always feel really tired, groggy. It takes me a while to wake up. Even when I drink coffee, it sort of jump starts me, but doesn't do a whole lot. It wakes my body up, but doesn't really wake my mind up that much.
Gotcha.
But I took it before leaving for work. Within a couple minutes, I felt easily more alert and awake. And the first couple days now of taking it, I feel like I can just kind of lock in on something for an extended period of time. I still have to deal with distractions and things like that,
Yeah.
obviously. But I can manage them a lot better. They don't really derail me as hard as previously. So I'm able to I just feel much more productive.
Damn, that's awesome.
And it was an instant difference. Unfortunately, I've had no side effects or anything like that.
Sweet.
That I've noticed. It's only been 3 days though, so who knows? Or I guess today's the fourth day. But hopefully it just keeps being helpful. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, so I'm excited about that. So it's definitely started off for a pretty good week. So
Very good, man. I'm excited to hear it. Yeah, I noticed pretty much immediately, when you hopped on, there was an audible note, difference in the tone of your voice, and you sounded happy to be alive. So that's sweet.
yeah, definitely. I'm doing pretty solidly. So
Nice. And now, when you say taking them, you mean crushing them up on your mirror and just putting them straight up your nose, right?
right, exactly.
Gotcha. Just making
See,
sure.
because they're slow release to last me throughout the day, but I just
Right.
want that fast hit. So
Gotcha. Yeah. We're not here to get better. We're here to get high.
Exactly. That's
Exactly.
the point.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I'm happy to hear it. That's awesome.
But how has your week been, man? Any big news? What are the goings on over there?
Well, I've got a couple directions I could go into. I don't know how much you want to hear me rant,
Hey,
but
go for it.
speaking of getting high, the government money came in. Got my stimmy check today. So we're fucking rolling in the dough. So we did all the responsible things, savings account, investments, that kind of stuff. And then we took a little piece for me, and I took it up to the card store, and I bought me a box of Commander Legends. So I was cracking packs, getting that dopamine fix today.
Nice.
Yeah, got some pretty good pulls. Cracked a Vampiric Tutor. I was pretty happy for that one.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was today. That was pretty fun. That's what I was doing before I hopped on. I was cracking packs and organizing and everything. But yeah, kind of the tangent that I wanted to go on. I have this I have a bunch of topics under back burner topics that they've come up but haven't had time to hit them or whatever. But yeah, so And this has happened a couple of times with like people or clients or just like, individuals in the community where they offer a position, an opportunity, basically a time expenditure on their behalf, and they present it as, a good opportunity for you.
Interesting.
But within that opportunity, there's no expectation to pay you. They're expecting you to put up a lot of the effort. They're just offering you the space to do your thing at no charge. And in their minds, the benefit is like, oh, you get yourself out there. It's a marketing opportunity. You can gain some new clients. But
so is this like a trade show opportunity, or is this...
It's more of like a wellness show opportunity. And for this thing specifically, but it's been like offered in a couple different forms, and it's just gotten to the point where like I'm kind of fed up, and it makes me wonder what people are thinking when they say effectively, hey, instead of doing your normal work thing and earning money, how about you come stand on my front lawn with your massage chair and see if you can drum up some business? But they're not paying us for our time. So I think there's a couple things going on.
Hey,
I think
man,
people are,
but like that's what I do whenever I talk to artists. I'm like, hey, can you make me something for free? You'll get publicity.
Well, exactly.
From the #1 F1 podcast. And people are just chomping at the bit to say, hey, let me do a fuck ton of hard work for no money and the opportunity to maybe be seen.
Exactly.
But who knows?
So you're with me. So you're like totally with me. You get what I'm saying. Man. Okay.
That's bullshit.
And I'm not looking just like for confirmation bias, but just like maybe I was crazy. But it's presented under the guise of like, they're doing you this big favor and they're helping you out. It's like, no, motherfucker, like my time is worth something. Somewhere around $70 an hour, you asshole. Yeah. So if you want me from like 8 to 12 on a Saturday morning, guess what? You owe me $280 just flat, right? Like I'm not just gonna stand in your front lawn or wherever the fuck in your school parking lot, in your gym, in your goddamn church, banister, and rub your aunt's shoulders. Like I'm not gonna do it.
No.
And there have been other like job opportunities offered, and I'm just like, I just want to chop people's heads off and show them like.
Question: with your business, do you guys have any like, and not that you need to, but do you run any specials in terms of like your first time is half price or
we do?
Okay, so
yeah,
like
so we have. Go ahead.
That in itself is like, if someone's like, oh, let me promote you by putting you out in front of people. Hey, tell them, swing by. They get a 50% or whatever the fuck discount. They can give it a shot. It's not going to break the bank in that case. And they can see if it works for them. That's a way to drum up business and test something out.
Right.
That's not just losing you a day of your life for potentially nothing.
Right. And more often than not, like I've been to these health shows and I've done like chair events and stuff. And the amount of business that it had drummed me up post that day, zero. And I mean, hey, maybe my hands weren't good. Maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe my breath stinks. All of those things are possible, but they've all given me the impression that nobody gives a fuck. They're looking for their shoulders to be rubbed for free, and my time is like worth more than that. And so
Well, and the other thing, like if you wanted to do charity, like you can go out and do that. If someone's doing Relay for Life and they're having like and they're people supporting a cause or whatever cause you and Sarah would want to support,
right,
and you're like, hey, you know what? I'll take a few hours out of my night, one night here or there, and I'll be at this place to do whatever. You can do that.
yeah, yeah, but that's up to us, right? It's not up to Jimbo. And I'll tell you what, I think one of the things that like upsets me more is the fact that most of the time they've just approached Sarah about it, and not that they had necessarily like access to me, but it's just the fact that it seems as though some of them have looked at her as just like the sole entity of the business, and not that there was like another half. And then on top of that, what concerns me is the fact that she is the one having to field these offers and these questions, because at the end of the day, I would look at these people and I would say, hey, why don't you just fuck right off, right? And I would make it very clear that they're actually being like kind of offensive, right? But
Yeah.
the way me and Sarah have talked about it, like it's almost as though like she's just a bit too nice of a person, honestly.
Well, and I think that's the thing. I think people find women more approachable, so they see her almost as a weaker link, like maybe an easier way in to get whatever they're looking to get, which is also equally not that. I think it would potentially be more that as opposed to them seeing her as like the sole proprietor kind of thing. And,
sure,
but,
you're probably right.
But either way, it's fucked up.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, man, I got so fired up, man. Like, so fired up, man. I was throwing the C word around. I was throwing the Q word around. I was saying motherfucker just up and down.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just had me so upset because I was like, man, like, what do people think? They're just like in this. They got like blinders on, and all they can see is their own fucking big toe. It's like, Jesus.
Well, and the other thing is they probably get semi-offended if you turn them down, which is like a whole nother thing. It's like, nah, like we're good. You guys are doing fine. And if you wanted to drum up more business, you know what you can do? Advertise a little bit more.
Right. And like you could
hand out business cards outside of the YMCA where people are sore and hurting after their workout. You could spend 4 hours of your Saturday morning doing that as people are leaving from playing their pickup basketball games, and probably drum up more business from that than you would from doing these wellness shows or whatever.
Dude, I'm right there with you, and that's exactly how I feel. Like there are a million and one better ways to spend my time.
It's frustrating because I think a lot of those types of things, like for my work, we have a trade show where we go and we meet with vendors, and like in my eyes, a lot of that seems kind of like a waste of time. Granted, I would have the opportunity to meet the vendors who I'm working with in person, which without a pandemic, I probably would have by now anyway.
Sure.
But with that, I'm going and I'm having to meet all these people who I'm probably never going to work with, who I'm probably not going to build any sort of like working relationship with, and just kind of waste my time. Like there are minimal benefits in my eyes to those kinds of things, and maybe I'm being a pessimist about them because maybe there's that 1 in a million opportunity where I meet a vendor that I never would have met and like whatever. But I don't know, man. I think it just makes me think of and my cousin is a graphic designer, and I have artists in my family. It just makes me think of people being like, "Hey, make this for free for me, and I'll show it to people, and you'll get publicity."
Yeah.
Nah, no, don't waste my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I'd rather take my average size bag over here. That's yeah, whatever. There's yeah. It was just that was a big hootenanny.
Hey,
It
man,
was like,
I don't blame you for wanting to rant on that. That's annoying.
dude,
Especially
I
if it
hope the next
happens
person
more than
asks me.
once.
Yeah, I hope the next person asks me about it, because I'm just flat out gonna say, like, hey, do you want to fucking come and watch my paint dry? That's how I feel about what you just asked me.
I'd just be like, hey, it's something we've been offered. I'm not really interested. We're doing okay. But if you would want to promote me to your friends, if anyone you know is interested in having some work done, I would love to have them in.
Right. Well, that's the friendly way to say it.
But I don't want
down
to.
someone's throat.
I know you do, but I don't want you to piss people off because.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be good.
Trying
We
to
start seeing bad reviews. Yeah, we don't want that.
Trying to keep my eye out for you.
Sure,
A little bit.
Sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so that's kind of been my week. New cards and dumb people.
Hey, there's always going to be dumb people. It's just how you manage it.
I know.
And ranting on the podcast is an easy way to do that. So.
That's a very easy way. It's a very healthy way. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody loses their fucking head.
True.
Yep. So where do you want to start today? F1?
Before that, I did want to see, I'm assuming you saw, but I wanted to mention that a pretty legendary rapper passed away this past week, unfortunately. DMX is...
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So I just thought that was pretty sad to see, especially seeing that it sounds like it was a drug-induced issue and heart attack and everything. But a real bummer, and I just wanted to give a shout out. DMX has some great music, but hope the man rests in peace.
X gonna give it to you.
That's some pump up music for the gym right there, man. But now I'm gonna be kind of sad whenever it comes on. So
Sure.
It's always a bummer.
To be honest, man, like that story has been developing for a couple of years. It's not like just out of the blue. Like the people who have been closest to him have said, like I've been saying for years, like, yeah, he's not a good spot. He doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a shame because like some of his friends reached out. There were people in the community that loved him and looked up to him and wanted him to be all right. And again, it's another one gone.
Yeah, it's just always sad to me because there's, especially in instances like that, or like it just always makes me think of Mac Miller. Like there's people around them who are trying to help, and even at some points, like with Mac, he seemed to be doing good, and just that one relapse ended things poorly. And so it's always just sad to see. So if you're having trouble out there, look to your friends for help. Work on things. Everyone's a work in progress, as Justin reminds me constantly. So,
I mean, it'd be tough not to be reminded when you look up to this absolute just, I mean, what do you want to say? Greek god, Adonis, fucking just absolute role model, just de facto number one. I say whatever you want about me. I'm kind of a big deal.
Seriously.
So it's no surprise that it's intimidating.
Not to toot your own horn or anything.
Not not to toot my own horn. I mean, like usually I'm a pretty humble guy. I like to think I'm a humble guy.
Yeah. I'd say pretty humble.
Decently humble.
But yeah, I wanted to touch on that briefly before we rolled into F1. But big race this week. Second race of the season, Imola. It'll be interesting.
It's an Italian race, right?
It is Italian. Excuse me. It is Italian.
Hell yeah. Ferrari's going to be looking for that win.
Yeah, true. Basically, another Ferrari home race. I'm interested to see actually how they do in terms of fans, because in Europe there have been some recent spikes in COVID cases in a lot of countries. So I'm hoping that they're still able to get some fans out and do it safely. Keep it exciting, and I think the drivers like having that around. But yeah, we've got an interesting showdown, especially because of this past year, which I wanted to bring up, because this past year at Imola was kind of a rough one for the Red Bull team. We had Max, who was up in second. He made a really nice move on Valtteri, got past him, was moving, and with like 10 laps to go, I think, I don't know, I forget if he hit a piece of like shrapnel from something on the ground, or if something happened, but one of his tires blew, knocked him completely out of the race from P2 with not a lot of racing left to go. And then shortly thereafter, we had Alex Albon spinning without hitting anyone and dropping from like 5th place down to last, which
that one was brutal. That one was really brutal. I think one of the races that helped to seal the fate of Red Bull last year in the constructor standings.
And for Alex, because this was, I believe, the race that Mercedes actually locked in the constructors, if I'm remembering correctly.
Gotcha.
So could have been pushed off a little bit longer, kept a little tighter if Max had been able to stay in it, didn't have that tire blowout. And at no fault of his own, it just was like a weird circumstance during the race kind of thing. But yeah,
it's probably just because Max is like a subpar driver. You know, he probably just messed up. You know.
Be. But yeah, and then also I feel like this was one of the ones that really may put Alex on like a big hot seat.
Like put him on the chopping block.
Yeah, because I remember during the race we're sitting there and they're like, "Oh, and Albon spins. Oh, I think he might have gotten touched." And then in the replay, he just hit the acceleration a little too hard and just lost it and went spinning out. It was like brutal.
Well, what's a shame is like that's so easy to do, but then you think like, well, nobody really does it, you know?
But this is also the same race that after Max's blowout, George Russell spun out and crashed under the safety car and had to retire.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Weird day. That was a weird race in terms of some of the stuff going on. But it'll be interesting to see, because we never got to really see how the Red Bulls could have done at the end of that race. So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so this year, hopefully we won't see any DNFs, because that just makes it more boring. I like seeing everyone finish and fighting for positions.
Right. Especially the Red Bull cars.
Of course.
On there.
But the other thing that I thought was interesting was that was a Daniel Ricciardo podium. So that was the first podium that he got during the season. So
that was the first Shoeey then.
That's when he forgot to do the Shoeey.
Oh, okay.
And so then the next podium was when he and Lewis did the Shoeey together.
Do you think you could buy Daniel Ricciardo Shoeey shoes?
I hope not.
Do you think he'd sell those? Because
I don't
like.
Think
there's
so.
no way he put his feet back in them. Like they're just garbage.
Yeah.
Do you think they throw them out? Or are they on display somewhere? I want them to be on display in my living room.
I hope that they throw them out. Personally.
Is that a title? Shoeey shoes?
Shoeey shoes? Might be.
I don't know, dude. But yeah, like I'd buy them. How much you know? Like Lennon's sunglasses, or like Hendrix guitar, the Daniel Ricciardo Shoeey shoes.
Could probably sell them for like $2,500, something like that.
Interesting.
I'm sure that there are big Danny Ricciardo Australian or just international fans that would love to have some memorabilia, let alone a shoe that he wore when he got a podium.
'Cause that would mean that his lips touched it.
Well, and it would.
You
I
could
was
put
thinking.
your lips on the shoe, and then you basically have kissed Daniel Ricciardo.
I mean, basically.
Yeah.
I was thinking more on the side of they would have a piece of memorabilia from one of his podiums, which is pretty cool on its own.
Yeah, but you would also have his DNA too. That's cool.
True. Maybe some beer residue or
You
champagne
think
residue.
you think the value of a Shoeey shoe goes up if they're deceased?
Probably.
Okay.
I would think.
So I
Well,
think you would
especially
want to get
since.
the Shoeey shoe and then have him pass
Well,
away.
I don't think you'd want that. Because if you are excited,
Your value, that would be optimal.
well, who's gonna resell a Shoey shoe?
I would if it skyrocketed upwards.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Investments.
Invest.
These are my investment strategies.
Buy someone's shoe that they drank champagne out of, and
Yeah.
then hope that they skyrocket in value for some undisclosed reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that karma will be good to you if you're hoping for someone to pass away, so a piece of memorabilia is more valuable. I think karma does not look kindly on that.
Yeah, I don't think it would either. And it's a bit of a singular lifestyle, isn't it? You're just like, you're all in on this one thing.
All in on the Shoey shoes, man.
And maybe I could buy some baseball cards too.
There you go.
We got Shoeey shoes and baseball cards. They tell me to diversify.
Boom. You're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah. All right. So he didn't do a Shoeey.
But he got the podium. Danny Kvyat was fourth that race. I think in general,
That was probably his best race.
I think it was last season. Still kind of crazy that he's not driving because I think he performed pretty well. Granted, very happy to have Yuki in the AlphaTauri lineup. No shade to Yuki. Haas could have used Danny. I think I know that they're going for the young lineup, getting their rookies some time, but it's tough when there are such limited number of spots and there are people that you could just see easily jumping back into F1 and performing well. Because he performed pretty well, especially late on in the season. I still think that Nico Hulkenberg would be awesome to have on the grid.
I'm pretty sure he got picked up by... Who did he get picked up by this past week as reserve driver?
Don't know.
I want to say Aston Martin.
Yes, Aston Martin did. Aston Martin signed last year's super sub Nico Hulkenberg as reserve driver for 2021.
That's right.
Hey, that's good. I missed that, but I'm happy that he's got a spot in a team somewhere.
So he's still hanging around the paddock, as they say.
Well, and also I wouldn't be super shocked, depending on how things go with Seb, if at some point Seb decides to retire. I don't... Obviously, it's early in the season, but it seems like he, between last year and struggling a little in the first race, that's got to be kind of tough on him. I could imagine him not being super thrilled about long term if that's kind of how things are going to go for him. But I would love to see Seb around, but having Hulkenberg there in the wings is definitely not a bad thing. So
yeah, it's hard to say with Vettel. Like I saw a headline, old dog tries to learn new tricks. And it's just kind of like a bit disheartening, and maybe people are just looking for a story. But yeah, at the first race out for Seb wasn't that hot. Maybe
I just looked up Seb Vettel and I found the article you're looking at or that you saw, and that's a brutal way to say it.
yeah,
The title is Vettel, an extremely old dog to learn new tricks.
Oh,
They didn't even just say old dog; they said extremely old.
Damn. Okay, so I was being nice to Seb. So that extremely old dog.
He's 33. He's
Right.
not that old.
No, that's crazy.
Lewis is older than him by like 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
No, what's even crazier is that they've all been racing together for forever.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they just had, they all probably have friends that have like fallen by the wayside, never made it to F3, never made it to F2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they got Lewis, Seb, and Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, dude, the old heads, man.
The Iceman.
The Iceman, Kimi Räikkönen. What a guy.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of just a shakeup of how things ended last year at Imola. So interesting to see how teams do. With the DNFs, it's hard to see if Red Bull. Well, I mean, Max was in second before he DNF'd, so I think based on car for performance this year and everything, wouldn't be shocked to see them perform pretty well.
Right.
But then also just another recap for drivers' standings. We've got Lewis in first, Max in second, Valtteri 2 points behind Max in third, Lando Norris fourth, Sergio Perez fifth, Charles Leclerc sixth, Danny Ricciardo seventh, Carlos Sainz eighth, Yuki Tsunoda ninth, and Lance Stroll 10th with that last point. So
hell yeah.
Got pretty diverse top 10. So we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, Mercedes a little ways ahead of Red Bull in the constructors. Red Bull not too far behind. McLaren there in third and Ferrari in fourth. So,
nice.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how things end up after this race. Should be fun. Should be exciting. I'm pretty pumped for it. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some fun qualifiers. Anybody that's getting your news from us, which I can't imagine is most of you, but anybody getting their news from us, the qualifiers were pushed back to later on Saturday. So check your local times to see when they go live for you. But yeah, if you were counting on like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. qualifiers, just check the website to make sure, because it may be later than you expected. Yeah, I'm hoping for clear skies, warm weather for the Imola race on Sunday. Hoping for a good performance from Max. Hoping for a good performance from the AlphaTauri boys. Looking forward to seeing my boy Valtteri. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun race. Look for bonus episode 3, yep. Imola Race Companion, coming up in the next couple episodes. We're gonna shift some things around, figure out a way to get you guys at least a depiction of the race, some form of depiction. We don't want to like copyright infringe or anything like that. But we're going to figure out something so you guys can follow along with the race as we're talking, because I know it can be kind of hard to follow along. So Stay tuned for the bonus eps for the race companions. Those go live on YouTube on Sunday. We don't do audio for those, so just look on YouTube. I can't think if there's any. I think that's all the house cleaning stuff for like F1 related content.
Yeah, definitely. And the one for this week may not have the images that we're hoping to get going for it. It depends how quickly we can put something together.
Right.
But hopefully we will have that coming up for future bonus episodes. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited. I think that'll add a good amount of production value to the videos.
A little pizzazz.
Little pizzazz, you got it. A little bit of comeback sauce.
There we go.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up F1 topics.
Yeah, because there wasn't a race this past weekend. Just a little bit of a preview going forward into this week.
Yep. But this past weekend, we did have some banger series in the LCS losers bracket finals, and then the LCS summer or spring showdown finals. Spring showdown.
Spring first half of the year
The Rum
before the
Springa
MSI
showdown.
The Rum Springa showdown. The before the summertime tournament half.
First half showdown.
The first half showdown. First half of the year showdown.
Spring split. First spring first half of the season showdown.
It was the first cut of the half of the year. The wet half. This was the wet split showdown.
The wet split showdown.
Dude, can you imagine? I wonder if that's like a category anywhere, like a wet split. Like it's not just somebody doing a split and not somebody with wet pants, but somebody with wet pants because they're turned on doing a split. A wet split showdown.
I don't know, but someone on the internet has told me that if you can think of it, it is out there.
Yeah. I'm not going to be the one to Google it. You guys go Google it.
Good luck.
But yeah, it'd be like, so you know how it's like a wet t-shirt contest? What if it's like wet t-shirt contest for the upper half and then wet split showdown for the bottom half for people that are into that sort of thing. That's another title.
Wet split showdown.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's a slightly concerning title, but I'll mull over it.
Yeah, man. Maybe Shoeey Shoe's better. But anyway, yeah, so we had TSM versus Liquid on Saturday, and we had Cloud9 versus spoiler, Team Liquid.
Yes.
Yeah, because they beat TSM 3-1.
Well, and so to start off with the TSM Liquid series,
what do you got?
My first thing that I have to say is that Tactical was being actively disrespected by Freak and Kobe on that cast. And it bothered me. This man goes 7-0-2 in game 1, 4-3-7 game 2, 5-2-2 in a loss in game 3, and then 6-1-6 in game 4. This man was going off. I can say that he did not have a bad game in this series. And they're out there going, oh, and Alfari is 1v9ing and saying shit like that. Oh, and he Tactical got picked once on Varus, and they're sitting there, and the next play that comes up, he ults, gets a double kill, and they're like, oh, and Tactical made up for that last mistake and shit like that. I'm like, this dude goes 7-0-2 in the first game and is 45 CS above his lane opponent. And they were just actively saying these things. His positioning throughout the series was so good. Mm-hmm. He was making aggressive plays. And yes, then on a immobile 80 carry that has no escapes, he got picked off one time. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, bow down to Alfari. The rest of Team Liquid fucking blows. Like,
right.
It was killing me watching it, man. That was tough because I was looking at it and seeing his positioning, and he's getting double kills. He's getting triple kills. I think he got a quadra in one of the games, and they just weren't talking about it, and it frustrated me because I'm like, what else does this man have to do to get some respect?
Yeah, he would have had to be doing a lot for them to talk about it. It seems like the narratives and the storylines are like set up a little bit, and then it's easy to just like do the normal like meme commentary on everybody else. Like they'll deep dive they'll deep dive Alfari and talk about his strategy and just be like, oh, tactically it's he gets picked once, he's so shit. Like it's easy to dismiss because this whole series we're supposed to be talking about Alfari and diving into what he's doing, which is unfortunate because I think Tactical played an incredible series.
Well, and granted, Alfari did play extremely well, but just like the shade being thrown out about like saying 1v9 and shit like that, it's like that just means the rest of your team's trash. That's what you're saying when you say 1v9. It's you playing against your teammates and the other team. Like, that's not what was happening in the slightest.
No, he had quality set up, especially from Core JJ. I know off screen we were talking about how Core JJ on Rel was just so instrumental throughout the whole series.
Scary. That man is scary on that champion.
Yep. The I think one of the big like takeaways for me, and I say this all the time, it's such a hot take, but I think a lot of times TSM lost it in the pick and ban. The Crocodile pick just was not impressive. They focused on it too much.
Yep.
And it didn't gain Huni anything ever.
It really didn't. They really like I'm blanking on the phrase. Just zoned in on that pick for whatever reason. I don't know.
Blinders.
Maybe it was really good in scrims. I have no idea, but it just didn't work out. And like the other thing with how TSM played was they had opportunities. They were close in games, and they just kind of, in those key moments where it's make or break, they weren't getting it. They weren't getting the big plays. They weren't winning those team fights that kind of finalized things, and that's tough. I think they played honestly really well. Spica looked really good.
I agree. Sword Art looked really good throughout the series, I thought.
Yeah, the two of them were solid. Power of Evil was like, he was fine. He was solid. He had some big plays, but just overall, I think TSM played pretty well. One of the other big keys, though, that I from what I was watching, was Armeo. This man steps in for Santorin into the LCS jungle role because Santorin had migraines and couldn't focus to be able to even play, which I feel for him. I get migraines occasionally. It's brutal. Like, I can't do anything when that happens. And so dude stepped in and stepped up and played like other LCS teams should look at picking him up for the second half of the season, potentially, because that man does not need to be playing Academy the way that he came up and really showed out in a short time. I was really impressed with his performance.
He wasn't a liability, and it was obvious that he did have it was obvious that he was a skilled player. It was rough for me not knowing. I had a hot take with Sarah when they, and yeah, I really ate my words on this series where they announced that Armal was, stepping in for Santorin, and I thought the series was over just right there. I honestly did.
I did too.
Yeah.
Santorin was probably the second best jungler in the league.
That's exactly what I said to Sarah too, and I thought before they even played any games, it was just going to be over. That Speaker was going to be able to just dominate that matchup and make it a not fun time for someone who should have been a class below what Speaker was able to do. But yeah, he played a perfectly serviceable series. He had. Let me look at his champion picks. I know we have game 1 on Udyr, game 2 on the Nocturne, game 3 on Hecarim, and game 4 on Hecarim as well. Yeah, playing like comfortable on the meta. The game 2 Nocturne was pretty sweet. I thought the game 2 Nocturne was really good.
It made a big impact. He was able to make good plays with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just really impressed with him. He had big shoes to fill, and he most certainly did that.
Yeah, I agree. What was crazy is, like, dude, you just saw it over and over. Like, TSM had gold advantages, TSM had, like, skill advantages, they had pick ban advantages, but when, like, in the moments in game, like, you just saw the play, like, just break down and fall apart, and they would just get wiped in these fights or make a bad call or, like, get caught in a rotation, and it was just over right from there. It's like, damn, you play clean for 34 minutes and you just lose it just straight like that. Yeah. That feels bad as a TSM fan. But yeah, Liquid definitely played the better series. They were just more together. And honestly, God forbid TSM won that series, because they would have gotten picked the fuck apart by Cloud9.
Yeah,
Cloud9 looked insane in their series. I know they dropped 2 games to Liquid, but they looked insane, bro.
Yeah, they were wild in that series, and I was really, really impressed with how they played.
I'm not saying we have to, like, skip right there.
No.
I was just comparing the, like, yeah, if TSM had to play them, man, it was brutal, or it would have been brutal. But yeah, like, kudos to Liquid. I thought they played a great series. Jensen was on top of it. The fact that Tactical and Core JJ were, like, 2v2ing fucking Lost and what's his name? And Sword Art. It's just like, damn, man. Damn. I just did not think they were going to get outclassed as much as they did. And in, like, the key big moments, it's like, man, how do you, like, throw a fight with an 8K gold advantage? How do you how do you bet? It's just like, god damn, TSM. God damn.
Yeah. Well,
it was a rough tournament to be a TSM fan.
It was, because they had really, like, pretty good early objective control for the most part, I would say. And
I don't know, they fucked off around Dragon a couple of times throughout the series and just, like, literally, like, lost it in that river.
It was those fights that they lost it for sure, but they were doing a good job with their setup and things like that. It was just when it actually came to fighting,
it was the execution of it. They just didn't have the mechanics, man. Liquid just were playing better.
Yeah.
Like, they were literally just, like, clicking the buttons better in the way that TSM was playing with massive gold leads, and they were just getting their dick kicked in. Well, like, good teams don't do that.
That's something that I was also kind of curious about your opinion on. So I definitely understand the benefits and where gold leads are important and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's kind of harped on too much in the broadcast?
For them, there's no other way to tell the story. Without getting in the weeds of item spikes, dragon benefit, team composition. Like, they have to paint in such broad strokes that it's an easy way for them to tell the story of the game. Do I believe that the gold lead is directly tied to the discrepancy of a game? No, because like they try and talk about is there's early game comps and late game comps and things that spike at 22 minutes. There's things that spike with when they get their Kraken Slayer, when Seraphine gets her Moonstone, you fight right away. You fucking everybody go to the dragon because that's a big power spike. So no, I don't think the gold leads are everything, but I do think if the number is X large, that's important because then you're talking about multiple mythic items or multiple items spread across multiple champions. Then we're talking about a significant power trough, a significant power difference between players and teams. But if we've got like a 1.2 gold lead and they're like, oh no, they've got a 2K gold lead and butter.
Well, they were even saying it when it was like 100 gold different or two. They'd be like, oh, and whoever just took the gold lead, and it's like 200 gold. It's like, dude, that's a
that's
minion
the difference
wave,
of like 4 potions.
That's a minion wave. Like that's not.
It's not that big of a deal, and I think it's more casters reaching and trying to paint in broad strokes.
Okay, and I understand that. They do have a hard job. Like, I couldn't fucking do it, and I get that. It was just, it seemed like a lot when I was watching. I was like, they would be like, oh, and gold lead for whoever, and I would look at it, and I'm like, it's basically even. Like, why are you saying it that way? And honestly, I really wish that they would talk about some of those item power spikes and things like that more. Because the gold lead doesn't mean shit if the 80 carry's sitting on 1,000 gold and the top laner hasn't based in 5 minutes.
Right.
And they're going
those
to
are timings that they never talk about.
They're going for a fight and the other team just bought, but you still have gold to spend. Like, they could be talking about, oh, they haven't spent their gold. Should they concede this fight? Should they concede this objective? Should they wait until they're on an even playing field? Because even if the gold is even, doesn't mean that the game state is, depending on where things are at. And I think that something like that, and I know we've talked about it, but like having a higher level broadcast, or even, I think if they did sprinkle some of those things in more often, more of the viewership would understand what's going on and be able to relate to it. Like, I think that dumbing things down for viewership in the long run ends up being detrimental. Like, initially, everything has a learning curve, and everything's kind of confusing the first time you do anything.
Yeah.
But if they are doing that throughout the season, they build on it some.
Right.
Then they could really do a much better job of painting the picture and also building their audience's knowledge of the game that can potentially benefit in them and their enjoyment of the game. Like,
yeah. Okay, so 2 points on that. I think Freak does a decent job at bridging competitive and solo queue sometimes.
He does.
Where there are insights that he'll have that if I was still playing the game, I'd be able to be like, it is a useful chunk. I can directly apply it to gameplay and be like, oh, that is useful information.
Yeah. And he does that well with his, like, he is a high skill level player still and everything. And so he does really, that's one thing that I will not shit on him about, is that he does bridge that pretty well.
Right, and you touched on it there as well. He's a high level player. A large number of the player base of League, it's like 65-70% bronze and silver. Yeah. It is overwhelmingly on the low end of the skill base. So the cast is going to be that way. You know, if nobody was bad at the game, if everybody was like gold, plat, and diamond, and, you know, North America was just foaming at the nose with challenger players, then I imagine the cast would be of a higher level. And then, so game 5 of Cloud9 versus Liquid, when Liquid got lane swapped on, that would have been a caster's dream of a game to talk about, when I'm not sure they were able to focus on what was going on as much as, fuck me for saying it, but as Doa and Monty used to be able to do back watching LCK, or watching Emily Rand do it and Frosturian do it for LPL. Like, when those teams were lane swapping, that was some of the most complicated League of Legends ever. Well, and Cloud9 did it this Sunday, and nobody gave a fuck.
They were like, oh, and a really unique start that really paid off. It's like,
yeah. It's like, what are you talking about? They just did the toughest thing you can do in this game.
Yeah. They not only like did a lane swap, but they did it without going through vision. They did it without the other team having an inkling of an idea that this was happening. And they got first blood immediately off it to snowball the game and start off.
Plus a 3 buff.
Yeah.
With the Scion pick. So not only do you do this well-documented thing, like there are journalists and esports or League of Legends experts that could break down the whole lane swap meta for you. But so Cloud9 did the thing, the cookie cutter strategy thing, but then they did it with finesse and pizzazz with the goddamn Scion 3 buff. Like, that was beautiful. Because not only was it's not like they had to go way outside of the meta to pull that 3 buff off. Everybody was playing Scion. So why would they think anything different when they lock in the Scion and the pick and ban? They're like, oh, yeah, motherfucker, this thing's going to steal your blue. And they're just thinking, oh, this is just some regular top lane matchup. Like, they gamed the whole thing. And, like, that's what I'm talking about, where, like, best of ones are so dumb because that shit can't happen, really.
Right.
But they pulled out. They fucking nailed it, man. It was beautiful.
I hope that the LCS and, their crew does one of the play breakdowns. Like, they used to do, and I don't know if I just, like, not being in the League of Legends client since haven't been playing and I've only been watching has made me miss it. When they do,
like, the circles and the lines and the this and the that. Dude, those were fucking awesome.
The team fight breakdowns and the different stuff like that. That would be insane to be, like, going through that intro game state where they're like, oh, because Team Liquid put down their ward in the red buff brush, but they didn't ward deep in the tri brush on top side. They didn't catch that the Cloud9 duo lane had swapped up top. And, like, there are so many, like, little intricacies that they could break down so well. And I would love to see that. And I think it would be awesome to look at. And I feel like they haven't been doing as much of that. And
I'm curious if that was due to pandemic.
That's what I was going to say.
The splitting of everybody led to, like, creative milieu.
Yeah, and it sucks because I really enjoyed all of those. Or, like,
well, they help you understand the game better. They help you understand pro thought and comms and how things work, really.
And seeing, like, when they would do it for team fights, and they're like, oh, because this team has a front-to-back team fighting comp, they're keeping their damage dealers a little ways behind their front line, and they're using their CC to, like... there's so many cool intricacies, and stuff like that can so easily get glossed over. And it's sad from my perspective as someone who has watched the game for a long time. And I understand that there's tons of viewership that is not high-skill players. There's tons of viewership, I'm sure, that are newer to the game and don't get it. But, like, they're not going to get it if you don't talk about it. Like,
yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah.
These people, like, yeah, that may be out of their realm of what they understand right away. But if they're never seeing complex ideas or like more descriptive ways of breaking down these strategies and things like that or gameplay, like they're not going to. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
when I was first learning the game, I watched a bunch of streamers that were more educational. Night
Mm-hmm.
Blue 3, who ended up fucking off and being some kiddie, like, rage streamer after a while, originally was like a really informative jungle teaching challenger tier player.
Yeah.
I learned how to be a decent jungler from watching that man's streams and his pathing and how he like approached fights and things like that. Stuff that I never would have learned if I by just playing the game and hoping
Right.
that I got better. Like you need some additional analytics for people to improve.
And if the games weren't like if the games weren't happening live, yeah, you would have to go for like VOD breakdowns after the fact that aren't coming from LoL esports, which is unfortunate because you're right. Yeah, I think yeah, you really hit it on the head. How are you going to teach people to play if you don't teach
And
them to play?
and they have intelligent people on the analyst desk and on the
For sure,
casts.
yeah.
Like Kobe,
Except for Primal, who the fuck is he? Like, what is he ranked? Where's
I
he from?
I honestly don't know much about him. Not really sure. But like Freak is a diamond to masters tier 80 carry player. Kobe
Mm-hmm.
is a former, I'm pretty sure former LCS jungler, briefly, if I'm
Briefly,
remembering
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Um, Emily Rand, who you mentioned being phenomenal on the L, LPL
She used to be a caster, right?
casting. Yeah, she did the English cast for the LPL with Frost. Like
Mm-hmm.
she was on the analyst desk for
Mm-hmm.
the championship and everything. Like you have these people that have this ability to do those things, and I hope that it's a pandemic issue that afterwards they'll be able to utilize some of that more, have a little bit better production for some of these things. But I love the game, man, and I
Mm-hmm.
would love to see other people get to understand it more so that I think that makes it more hype. Like, if you're just watching a bunch of shit happen and you don't know what's happening, like, the only way you can tell how good it is based on, like, the casters and how excited they are.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
you're not able to look at it and be like, oh, this team fight's breaking down, but like, oh, Tactical's there in the wing and he hasn't used his ult yet and he's able to, like, you, there are things that
Right.
you start to pick up on the more that you understand the complexities of the game that make it even more enthralling to watch. And the fact that you and I have those from the years of watching, playing, and things like that, even though we don't play now, we can still see those moments and get super pumped and be really into it and excited because we have that knowledge. And I would love to
Mm-hmm.
see them like try and expand that for other people, newer players and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because yeah, to your point about them, kind of not like yeah, kind of bad mouthing tactical a little bit, just the total glossing over of the lane swap. It's just like man, like what are we doing here? What kind of League of Legends are you here for, man? Because like that was the coolest thing I've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
That was the dopest shit I saw in both series.
Potentially all season.
Y-
That's the
Yeah, yeah,
first,
and they barely talked about it.
pretty sure that was the first lane swap from level 1 that happened all season.
Yeah,
There, I can't think of it, and if I missed one, I mean that's on me, but
Right.
I
I don't think there was though, man.
I
I really
don't
don't think there
remember
was.
anyone doing that. And like, yeah, the tactical thing just also really bothered me because the man was like playing really, really well. And Lost and Sword Art are solid.
Hmm.
And yeah, Tactical and Core JJ were like, even in game 3 that they lost, with the Varus and the Thresh, they had that 2v2 double kill down bot
Yeah.
lane early on where they pretended to base. Core JJ pops out, gets the flay, gets the hook through the minions onto Lost. Then they're
Hmm.
able to chase down Sword Art, get another flay and hook onto him and take him out too. And like that was so well played, and to hear them just like talk about tactical like he wasn't doing anything was just like felt bad,
Right.
man.
Like, oh, it's all just the God Core JJ just setting him up, and yeah,
Yeah.
you
And
have
I
to figure
mean,
they're doing it together, man.
exactly. And I mean, granted, Core JJ is phenomenal. He's such a good support. But
Ex world champion.
that was just like one thing that, and I rewatched all the highlights for all the games today just as
Hmm.
like a quick refresher on stuff to make sure that I'm like got it all locked in, and
Yeah.
that I had noticed it originally during the broadcast, and then watching it back in the highlights it was
Even in the highlights, you heard it. That's rough, bro.
because it was every team fight, and like
Right.
he's sitting there, especially like game 1, he's sitting there on the Zaya in the back line popping off, and just nothing.
No cares for the 7-0 Zaya. It was all about the 6-2 Alfari, man.
The man gets no respect.
Speaking of no respect, who the fuck is writing these Google pages? Because I see all the time they get the player names
You
just
mean
totally wrong.
TSM's jungler is not Gaduniker?
Obviously, he's the best jungler the world's ever seen. I
And
didn't think
they're
that was his name though.
and TSM's 80 carry Yaniko.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. Like, and I guess Power of Evil wasn't even there. They just had bots playing the mid lane.
Yeah, it was just Oriana, the champion.
Right, she was playing herself. Oriana played herself. Yeah, just like really weird, man. No respect to the game.
Yeah, that's
They don't think anybody's using it.
a little weird. Oh, and really honestly, the reason that Liquid just stomped TSM in Game 4 was because, as you can see on Google, Azir had no kills, no deaths, no assists, and no CS. The man was AFK
Oh,
the entire
that's
game.
why they lost. Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize it was a 4v5.
Yeah, it's
Holy shit.
yeah, the people doing the Google stuff. Don't quit your day job, folks.
Too funny, man. Too funny. You gotta love it.
But I guess on that note, we can move on. We've touched on some aspects of the Cloud9 Team Liquid series, but
With King, their jungler, Isles, 80 carry.
yeah, and Perks,
Yeah.
Perks,
The only guy with caps. That's so funny. All caps Perks. Yo,
I thought all caps was on Fnatic or on
I was just
G2.
about to say that. Can you imagine if Caps and Perks did like the fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z?
Oh, love it.
Dude, what if they actually just like turned into Faker and not Faker 2.0, like Caps plus Perks makes Faker.
They just like there's a puff of smoke and Faker's just standing there like
Like
awkwardly.
in his T1 jacket.
Or no, there's a puff of smoke and Faker does the little somersault tumble that he did on stage for the One Worlds.
Bro. That was the least accurate, like the least athletic thing I've ever seen happen in my life. I would rather go back to middle school gym class, get drafted for basketball last, do 10 jumping jacks on my spindly little knees, and that would have been more athletic than what Faker fucking did. That was crazy, bro.
It was, but it's
Ninja
like
Faker. Can you? I have literally seen a YouTube video named Faker, the unkillable demon king god or whatever.
and he looked like an awkward child.
Yes, and he rolled onto a stage.
I mean, on one hand,
What a weird world.
on one hand, mad respect, because no matter what, he had the confidence to do that in front of a shit ton of people. On the other hand, don't do that, man.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't
Can
do
you,
that,
yo,
man.
what if it was like his girlfriend? Okay, Faker is a virgin before that World Finals, and his girlfriend is like, I'll let you smash if you roll onto that stage, you fucking dirty
he's
motherfucker.
And he's like,
And Faker's
hell
like,
yeah.
hell yeah, dude.
And afterwards, he's like, you didn't say I had to be good at it.
Yeah, right. God damn, that was the cringiest role I've ever seen. I'd rather watch the Power Rangers front flip into battle 50 times than watch him do that role.
100%.
100%. Holy God. But yeah, man. All right, so caps plus perks, Dragon Ball Z Fusion Dam.
Equals Faker. Oh, wait, this way. There we go.
All right, so King and Isles.
Yeah, King and Isles. Game 1, though, it was... Jensen made up for his struggles on Victor in the TSM series. Because, man, he went off on that. And, like, it was a solid game and such a close game, too.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Well, this was a close series overall.
It was. And also, still, again, kind of sad that Santorin was out for the second series, too. Who knows whether it would have made a difference or not. It maybe...
It would have made a huge difference.
I can think that, but at the same time, the lack of preparation for... Like, Blabber, I feel like, is a pretty intelligent jungler in terms of tracking opponents and, like, kind of getting a feel for what they're going to do. I think not having any experience against Armeo definitely makes it tougher. I don't think that Armeo is as good as Santorin, so obviously that skill difference makes a difference for Liquid. But I think when you're preparing for a certain jungle player and a certain style, and you are looking at and studying their typical pathing and things like that, and then all of a sudden there's a wild card like that, like, that's why teams will use substitute junglers often as, like, their sixth man for international best of fives. Like, it shakes it up, it changes the pace. Like, I think of all the roles in League, switching up a jungler is probably the most impactful substitution you can make player-wise in terms of changing how the game is being played and looked at and things like that. So
you actually think it was a boon for Team Liquid that they got to go in with this on
not fully. I think it kind of evens out, though.
Blabber could have seen the TSM series and he would have been able to go back and watch Academy games, which I'm sure he did.
Probably got a little bit in, but it was also a very last minute kind of swap. Like, it was, I'm pretty sure, the day of the TSM series, the day before Cloud9 played them, that they were like, oh yeah, by the way, Santorin's out. He's got migraines. Sorry.
Right, so he would have had 24 hours, give or take, to prepare.
Like fully prep, which I mean
isn't a lot.
Not,
it's not
a lot, but so in that sense, like, I don't know if Santorin being there would have meant Team Liquid wins that series. I think it's almost like a net zero.
Okay.
With that, because you're not prepared for the person you face, but they're slightly less skilled than the person that you would have faced. So it's like tough to say. I feel for Team Liquid though, because I would have liked to see the matchup just like full strength versus full strength and see how it goes. But honestly, super close series. Like we said, that first game, I mean, you look at it, final gold total was 2,000 apart, 1 kill apart, 1 tower apart, and really the big difference was Team Liquid securing the extra objectives,
Elder.
getting the Elder, getting the Dragon Soul. That was...
That's what I meant to say, the Dragon Soul. I'm sorry, I cut you off to be wrong.
Well, they did get the Elder, though, too.
They did, but the fight that it kind of flipped on its head was the Dragon Soul fight.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was, like, just a really, really good game. Going into game 2, and this is something that I wanted to mention as well. The standout player for me for the series was honestly Fudge. I know that Perks played like a fucking maniac, but everyone expects that. And when you look at Alfari, who across the board was definitely the top laner in LCS throughout the first half of the season up until that point.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people expected Fudge to be able to hang with him like he did. And he was never down very far in CS. He was never that far behind. He was making some really solid plays. So I just wanted to put out some respect for Fudge, because I was very impressed with how he handled that. So,
well, and 5 different champs in 5 different games too. That's not easy.
Definitely not. And I what I was gonna say with game 2, which is why it reminded me of my me wanting to shout out Fudge, was that Malphite pick, man. He was making plays with that ultimate. He was turning on people. That was huge.
Well, it's such a destructive ultimate. It's so game changing, and you have the like fucking Hecarim Rakan like ball delivery system. You're not getting out of there alive.
Definitely.
But you're right. He was such a big linchpin in that team comp, in that team composition, that he was definitely MVP of that game, I would say, and played great throughout the series. To your point,
yeah, I was really, really impressed with that. Game 3, though, I mean, it was just a really hard fought series. Like I was very concerned in game 3, just seeing how that went, and just knowing at the end of it that Cloud9 was down 2-1 going and had to win 2 games to win out for the series. Mm-hmm. I was like, I honestly was like, I was preparing myself for a 4-game series.
For the 3-1, man.
I was ready to be sad. I was ready to be a sad boy.
They did it, man. Games 4 and 5, they brought it back.
They did. They
really brought it back. The Alistair pick in game 4, I thought was huge. And Fudge on the Gragas had some insane body slams. I'm specifically thinking of the one play in the bottom lane. I know. Yeah, I think he was just playing really good.
He was, and Perks like showed up for those last two games hard, and he showed up all series. The man like didn't have a single bad game. But the 3-0-7 on Zoe. He was in like he should have been in a losing lane versus the Victor early on, and he was like slightly ahead, and I was just like, that's just perk stiff, like mid lane difference.
There you go. That is, I would say that's a good, just like simple way to describe the lack of strong casting. Is it's so easy for them to use the meme terms that mean like something to the people that know, but I heard them say so many times, they're just like, oh yeah, that's just top difference right there. It's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what is the actual top difference?
Right.
It's just such an easy thing for them to just like, oh, yep, that's my take.
And granted, I think they did mention for a split second that Zoe should not be even with Victor at that point. I think they did mention that in the cast. But the fact that like they could have talked about it, like Zoe late game 100% hits harder than Victor. Victor hits hard late game, but a Zoe can one shot people late game. Like Victor can't quite do that unless you're double lift at Worlds. Like that's he does a lot of damage, but it's not as bursty as Zoe.
Right, it doesn't happen all at once. It's like a little bit over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not over time, but it's not necessarily
it's not as
a
fast
one shot,
as, like,
yeah.
Because being able to like immediately insta burst someone like that as a Zoe you're just instantly in a 4v5. Victor at least has to put himself out there and like hit his E, get a Q on him, throw the ult down. Like, you have to throw a lot of stuff. You can't just be like, haha, I'm 2 screens away, boop, oh, and you're gone. And I also teleported back a screen away.
Force a base, yeah. No, you're right.
So
I was just thinking of the burst potential of Victor, but yeah, you're right. I think Zoe is a little more...
He does have good bursts, like, granted, but not on the same level.
Right.
But that game, I mean, that was huge. Like, Perks played super, super well with that. And then, like, game 5 was just... It was a stomp. Like, from that start, getting the lane swap, getting the kill, getting the 3 buff, they came out to play. They said, I'm tired of losing.
Right.
They just were after it.
I think what's funny is it seemed like they did it with such precision, and they would have had to have been practicing it in scrims, you would imagine. Against someone, but it must not have been Liquid, because they that's being caught with your pants down. They really had no clue, which is pretty funny.
Like, I kind of wish I knew who was scrimming who. Like, I almost think that, like, I wouldn't be shocked if C9 was scrimming TSM primarily, because under the expectation that Liquid would make finals. Like, not that you can just assume that TSM's not going to make it, but like, or maybe they were scrimming both of them and just had different strats prepared for each team, that they weren't like I just kind of wonder how on the team side and practice side that works. Because at this point, I mean, all these other teams have been like, they're 100 Thieves. Like, they got knocked out. Why would they be scrimming when they can give their players a break?
Right.
Like Dignitas, fucking Evil Geniuses. Why would these teams still be playing when they know they could just get started now, have like a 2 month break through MSI, and then
Yeah,
come
because they're not
back
playing.
refreshed and like I feel like they had to have something prepped for either one, and kind of hidden some things. I think that's a really tough thing about late playoffs.
Sure.
Or maybe they're just doing internal scrims. Maybe they're just scrimming their academy team.
Like the academy team when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, just practice super standard against the other teams, and then like lane swap and like jungle follow and do all the crazy stuff against your academy team.
yeah, and try things out. See if
Yeah.
like I think it makes it. I would be really curious, really curious to see.
Yeah, because like it was clean as fuck. It was really well done. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't just like, ooh, dude, what if we do this? And like you and your friends in solo queue,
Yeah. But I mean that last game too, like Perks went off again on the Silas. Like, just being on that pick is, I think that's a really good pick for him because it allows him to
It's a
play
really good pick for the
aggressive.
team.
And yeah, like the ultimate steals and stuff like that can just be so good. Like stealing a Hecarim ult,
What
stealing
was funny?
like,
Pause right there. Stealing a Hecarim ult before even Hecarim had ult. That was the
brutal.
funniest moment in the game, bro.
Just
He literally just ran by the level 4 Hecarim, said, "Thank you," and just kept running to the top lane and proceeded to use that ult to fuck our mouse top laner. It
yeah.
was so funny, bro. I was like, that's
Just had
too good.
his Christmas gift got snatched out of his hands before he even got to open it.
I know.
Like,
It was so good. So good. He's like, thank you. Take that.
I appreciate
So
you
clean.
coming to my lane.
Yeah, dude.
Thank
So
you.
good. And then he ended the game at 10, 2, and 6, bro. It's like, it's so reactive, and it is. It feels like a true, like, counter pick. Like, oh, okay, you did that. We're going to do this now. And it's just like, yo, god damn it. And not only that, like, yeah, he's a monster on it, bro. It's starting to become like his champ.
He comes to play, and like, man, I wish that like Twitch chat wasn't just all copy paste stuff now.
Yeah.
Because back when Perks was like just starting out and everything, the memes, man, the whole my Rise is bad, my Azir is worse. Yeah, that's right, I'm G2 Perks. Like, fucking, no one's creative like that anymore. Everyone's just like, Keck W, Keck W, Keck W, Poggers. Like, fucking get out of here. Or copy pasting those crazy old, like, those things that were creative and stuff back in the day. And just like, man, there's no new bits anymore. That's just me.
I need fanfic. I don't need bits, dude.
That's
Give me
me being a boomer a little bit. I think that I'm just like,
okay.
It was better in my day.
Get off my lawn. No, it's okay. You're allowed to have those every now and again.
Yeah.
Dude, that game 5, they literally beat them by 15,000 gold.
And that was a fast game too.
Yeah,
I don't remember how long it was exactly, but I think it was like 28 minutes or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure they cracked an inhib turret at like 17 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was pretty quick.
It was
pretty quick.
It was good. But with that said, going into MSI, the mid-season invitational, baby, Cloud9 has made it after last year being snubbed by COVID-19.
It would, dude. It was a snub film.
So I was excited because that would have kind of sucked for, well, Sven and Vulcan and Blabber specifically, who were on the team last year when they qualified for MSI, but the tournament was canceled. So very excited to see how they perform in some international competition because like last year didn't get to see any of it. MSI got canceled and then they missed Worlds and it was like, yikes.
Well, bro, G2 got spanked.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Like, I'm just looking over to see, like, who's all going to be at MSI.
Yep, Rogue stomped them in the losers bracket finals.
Damn.
Yeah,
Bro, and then it's going to be DWG, Showmaker, Barrel, Ghost, Canyon, Con. Okay, that's from LCK. Who's from LPL? I don't know.
LPL has not finished theirs yet.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
that happens on Sunday.
Nice.
So yeah.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm looking forward to the MSI. International tournaments are always fun.
Yeah.
I hope the format's good. This one, these are kind of lame, man. Yeah, I like the regular, just quarters, semis, finals.
For
just like regular, just for the tournaments. Like, what's
Gotcha.
with the upper and lower brackets, bro? Single elim.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me too much. I am a little bit, though, intrigued by Mad Lions.
I'm a little bit intrigued by the amount of members on the T1 roster.
How many people are on the T1 roster?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 16 players listed anyway.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a lot.
Who are you looking at?
Mad Lions, because
I've never heard of any of them.
Well, they were like basically a mostly rookie squad last year. Performed really well in LEC. Kind of took it to G2 a little bit, which was definitely interesting last year. And then to see them like come out on top, I think throughout the LEC season, a lot of people had high expectations of Rogue and G2 being the the finals matchup, and to see Mad Lions kind of come out over top of both of them is pretty cool because they've got a lot of just really young talent. Like if you're looking at their team, only 2 of their players played on an LCS team before 2020. Like Arome and Humanoid were both on Splice in 2019.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And that was it. The rest, everyone else entered LEC spring of 2020.
Damn, dude.
So, very impressive to me.
I don't know, dude. Nobody beating Reckless in the finals is impressive to me.
Just choke artist Reckless.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a 4v5 whenever he's in the playoffs.
Brutal.
Bro, he lost his chance to be talked about as like one of the great players. He was the quintessential like sports thing where he was amazing his rookie year to the degree that people thought he was going to be godlike, and then from there he just like trickled downward. The only benefit to Reckless was that he was on good teams, so the turd wasn't so turdy. But dude, if he was on like some bottom like some bottom tier, like place 8-9 team,
This is
Reckless would look like garbage.
This is some Aaron versus Freak type trash talk. I definitely, to some extent, see where you're coming from, but I would still say he's been one of the top 80 carries in LEC and European LCS for a number of years. I'd say
based on his team getting good results,
I'd say top 3 to 4 80 carries for every season that he's played.
In my mind, he's definitely a top 10 ADC every year. He's definitely in the top 10, I would say.
But
of European AD carries.
My biggest concern is some of the attitude issues that he's had over the years with, like, not playing and just deciding not to play when mages were in the bot lane instead of actually learning how to play them and different things like that. I still think he's solid, but clearly I think Perks being on G2, him leaving
was a better move. Yeah.
Bigger difference maker for G2 for sure. Like, I mean, there was a lot of talk about, like, oh, but Caps is a better mid laner than Perks, and oh, Reckless is a better AD carry than Perks. Like, but Perks was, and that's questionable. Perks was a pretty damn good AD carry too.
Yeah.
But I think that they were like, we're still gonna have studs, but Perks is like a freak, man. He is. I think
Perks like does the work of like 2 players. It seems
he has to be the Western GOAT. Like, if Perks had been around playing like as like top tier and being a top player back when Cloud9 had just come into LCS and stuff like that, he would 100% be considered, like, they would have been talking about how much of a freak he was because he's able to play so well and he's a shot caller and a team leader. Like,
right.
No one talks about, like, the whole shot caller thing like they used to, but, and I'm not saying he's the only one making calls, but the fact of how much of a leader he is and how knowledgeable he is on the game, like,
right. Well,
his impact is so good. It's so huge.
As far as championships and stuff like that, he is the winningest player in the West, right?
He's the Western GOAT. He's one of 2 people that have won a LEC or EU LCS and NA LCS title.
Who's the other one? Bjergsen?
Sven.
Oh, Sven. Oh, damn, great. And they're on the same team.
Yep.
No, okay. Here's a hot take. I think if you're going to talk about like all around greatest of all time, I think the amount of championships you win, I think like longevity as a player, all of those things like matter, and I think there aren't very few players that are in that conversation really. But if we're talking about just pure mechanics as in like the best player in the West, I think the true answer would surprise a whole lot of people of like who is like actually in that conversation. So like think of the conversation for greatest rapper alive, okay? And there's all sorts of barnacles on that conversation. But if you actually wanted to talk about like, and okay, so I shouldn't have said greatest rapper alive. Let's just say like just
go
all
rapper.
Around
greatest of all time rapper. Yeah.
But if you wanted to talk about let's just have a conversation about who are the best rappers, not who have commercial success, not the best live shows, not the best whatever, the greatest rappers and the best rappers is a totally different conversation. Like my argument for GOAT, like the things that come to mind of like what makes somebody a GOAT isn't necessarily always the amount of championships and rings that you have. Like,
True.
I'm not saying that he's not the GOAT. I just find that when you're having these conversations, sometimes you want to set up expectations and like, what are we actually talking about?
Definitely.
Because the only reason I say any of that is because when you said GOAT for like of the West,
West, yeah.
you know who I thought of, and you may be able to read my mind. Guess who I thought of when you said that? And it's very far from any of the players that we just talked about.
The person that thought of was Froggen.
Froggen? Okay, that's a good guess. I was thinking Forgiven. That
true.
dude was a monster.
Yeah.
And not just in his own region, even in international competition. I remember this cast when he was going up against Uzi, and he was giving Uzi problems in lane.
He was a freak, man.
Dude, yes, he was a freak, bro.
That is the true Greek freak, as opposed to any of you NBA fans out there. Forgiven is the Greek freak.
Dude, like, that guy was insane. I think Perks, yeah, him being the winningest player is just a fact, but I think mechanically there have been better players than him. On other teams and in other areas.
I would argue mechanically that young Dardoch was a better player than 98 or 99% of players in LCS. Just like solely mechanically based. That dude, like when he...
I've never seen him play like a Zed or a... You know what I mean? Like,
it's tougher from the jungle role. Like,
right. You just play like team fighters, so that's hard.
But when he would be on like mechanically difficult champions like the Lee Sins and things like that, dude was a fucking animal. Like his mechanics were insane. And not that he's like shit now or anything, but like when he first came onto the scene and was a hothead and was talking about how he was better than everyone else, he fucking played like it too. Like he went out there and he wasn't like shying down from anything. He very much had a similar attitude to Forgiven, that he was like, I am better than you, I'm gonna put you in the fucking ground, and like came out to do that in every game, which was
a killer's mentality, bro. Like, yeah,
but that has trouble lasting up in a team.
It does. It does. And that's what separates, the winningest player from the mechanical best. Right. It's like you have issues with that, and that's perfectly fine. I was just setting up all that to say, like, I think of other players when you think of like just pure mechanics, pure in-game cojones. You know?
Which one is that? So who are you saying that like Forgiven is the best player?
I think Forgiven would be in the conversation for GOAT. Yeah.
Okay. But Forgiven would be the best player, like League of Legends player.
Yeah.
Okay. That I gotcha. I'm just like,
or at least in that conversation for the top 3 spots. Or
I'm just like differentiating like which one is which in the conversation. And I do agree. I don't think Perks is gonna like mechanically outplay Forgiven or like some of the other players. He's really good mechanically, like
very good. Very good.
But his all-around package he's got a huge package.
A massive package. This guy's package is so large, he's like 2 whole people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Dude, forget the like tripod thing. We're talking like whole bodies now.
There we go.
Whole other body.
Third option for title, the Perks package.
The Perks package. That's hilarious. Perks' package. The Perks' package. Just bad dick jokes.
There's no such thing
as a bad dick joke. Large veiny bastard. I always think of the from Superbad. Yeah, that condition of just drawing dicks on everything.
Yeah.
He had the notebook full of like dicks, and he's just like,
Just-
not little tiny dicks, like thick veiny bastards. So good.
Oh, Jonah Hill.
You can tell where I get my my comedy starts from.
Same.
Gonna be famous one day, don't you know?
Don't worry, we already are, because we've got the #1 F1 podcast. And
You heard it here first, folks. The tall and short of it, going worldwide.
But I guess anything else we want to touch on with the LCS finals and all we've got.
No, I think we sucked their dicks enough, to be honest.
I think so.
Yeah,
sucked some big veiny bastards.
Some big perks package, dude. Come in and try the perks package.
Oh, well, in that case, since we don't have any more dick jokes to make, well, we might, but we're going to move on.
Yeah, no dick jokes for me.
We do have this week's deck tech, so I'll let you start getting set up and everything. But the commander for this deck is the Prime Speaker Vannifar. We've got, she is a legendary creature, an elf ooze wizard. Ooh, ooze. That's a little uncomfortable.
It's a fun they call them like tribes in Magic. It's a fun tribe. Everybody loves a good ooze, dude.
There you go. Transitioning from dick jokes to ooze, but her ability is to sacrifice another creature. You can search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card on the battlefield, shuffle your library, and you can use this anytime that you could cast a sorcery card. So
basically what the sorcery means is that I can only do it like on my turn, and I can't do it in response to things like on the stack. I can't do it at instant speed.
But are there any cards that allow you to cast sorceries at instant speed?
No.
Okay, because I know that there are some abilities, like haste, I think, that allow you to do things at instant speed. So I wasn't sure if there were any that would allow you to cast sorceries at instant speed, because that would be busted.
Well, it may the being able to do it at instant speed, yes, is rather busted. Now that you ask, I do have one. It doesn't mean I can do her ability, because that's an ability. But if you can, where's the land? It's Alchemist Refuge. This says you may cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash, meaning you can cast them at instant speed. That doesn't allow me to do her, but if I wanted to get like my combo creatures onto the battlefield before my turn, I could do it that way.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
Yeah, it doesn't let me activate her off turn though.
So,
Yes, sir.
Okay, never mind. It was going to be a dumb question once I read the ability for Alchemist Refuge. So, cool. Never mind. It was about when you would be able to utilize that ability, but you have to tap it to use the ability on its turn. So,
right.
You wouldn't be able to tap that at any point to just like do that. You would have to set it up earlier.
Yeah, I would have to like plan for a turn like that.
Right. So that's what my question was going to be. So
gotcha. Okay.
But then I learned
so
to read.
the name of the deck, they call this effect like a birthing pod effect.
So Birthing Pod is you're turning one creature into another. Sometimes in the CEDH community, they just call it like evolution, because there's a card called Eldritch Evolution that it gets you creatures up the mana value like curve. So this deck wins in a couple of ways, both ways using Prime Speaker Vannifar as the main piece. So the one line of victory is to use her as a tutor in the command zone to get my 2-drop and my 3-drop, which are the Vigilant Graph Mage and Incubation Druid, which you saw before from the Yarick package. These together make infinite mana, and then we have some outlets for infinite mana to get my deck in my hand or make all of my creatures super powerful and swing out. So that's one way to win, where instead of looking to go all the way up a chain, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to get to a really big creature quickly, I just need to get a 1 and a 2-drop to be able to get to these guys and have an outlet, and then I can win. So that's using Vannifar as pretty much just like a hard tutor from the command zone. The other way that we can win is using Vannifar to go search for untappers. Things that say when they enter the battlefield, untap another target creature. So when the thing hits the battlefield, we can untap her and do it again, right? And just optimally go up a chain. Now, how do we get that combo going? So that's what the main rest of the deck is kind of set up to do, is have really quick and concise ways to get all the way up the line. So you need ways to untap her if the creature, when it enters, doesn't untap. You also may need ways to give them haste, so you'll need cards like Concordant Crosswords, which is an enchantment, gives all creatures haste. All creatures, not just yours, notably. So when you're playing that, you want to hopefully get pretty far up pretty far into your game plan before you give your opponents access to haste. One of my favorite untappers in the deck is Intruder Alarm. So it says, whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures. So if I have this in play, no matter what route I'm going up, I can use any of my creatures to go all the way up the line. This is pretty much like a free Vannifar game. If I draw this, that's a very helpful card. We have Scrib Ranger. That's a good untapper. So we have a bunch of ways to untap Prime Speaker Vannifar. But where are we going with Prime Speaker Vannifar when our combo's kind of going? So, optimally, you'd want to have a Llanowar Elves, a 1-mana creature on the battlefield. So you get your Llanowar Elves on the battlefield, and then you tap and sacrifice him.
Then you get
and you go grab your 2-drop, and you go all the way up the line. And now you've actually caught me in a funny spot here, because I'm changing the very top end of the deck. So it ends at 8. I don't see much reason to go past 8,
so
because a 9-drop...
Would that be your Lorthos, or would it be the Hydroid?
That's the Lorthos, the Tidemaker, the big fucking octopus guy.
Because I saw
and
that the Hydroid has X mana. So you have the ability to go past 8 with that, technically. Correct?
No. In my library, Hydroid Krasis is a 2-drop.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And he has 0 toughness. So if he hits the battlefield, he just dies. He just goes right to the graveyard.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yeah. But if I put 6 mana into the X on the stack, he would be considered a mana value of 8 card. It's very odd how things like that work.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a fine place to talk about it. So I'm actually thinking about changing my very top end Lorthos. So it says when he attacks, you can pay 8 mana. If you do, tap up to 8 target permanents, and those don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Why doesn't this seem that good? Because if let's say I'm able to go all the way up the chain on like turn 3 or turn 4, right? I still have to get to my turn 5 for this to do anything, and I probably don't have 8 mana to tap down 8 big things, right? That's like, I'll probably have 4 or 5 mana. So, I'm thinking of changing it to something that just, like either kills some things or, like, draws me cards or something to do when it enters the battlefield. So my top end is going to change, but how we get there is all the same. So we have untappers, we have card draw, we have ramp, we have all sorts of stuff to get there. Ways to tutor up our combo creatures, ways to protect our combos. We also have Blue Sun Zenith, which is another outlet. Basically, when building these decks, my goal is to kind of figure out my game plan, how do I want to win, and then just hone in on those strategies, find ways to draw cards, and ramp in those within that strategy. So that's kind of like the main thing that I'm doing with the Prime Speaker Vannifar deck. Now, do you have any questions, sir?
So then, I guess just if you're changing the top of your deck, what kind of card would you be looking for instead to replace Lorthos? Just because, I mean, he is an 8/8, so he is pretty strong.
Yeah. Look up Terastodon. That's the card that I'm thinking about putting in. Because that, like, does something.
So, he'd be 8 mana. When Terastodon enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. So, yeah, so when you jump in, you can destroy 3 of your opponent's cards. Could be anyone, so you could really...
It could be lands as well,
So
which is kind of what I'm thinking.
You could fuck people's strategies pretty hard with that. Plus, you get 3 3/3 elephants.
Well, the opponent gets the 3/3 because it's their thing dying.
Oh.
But I don't necessarily care about a 3/3 if I kill the thing that's winning you a game.
True.
Right? Often the 3/3s never matter. Like, they're supposed to be a downside, but they're so minimal, they never matter. They never ever matter. So killing something early game is so much better than, like, not being able to tap down anything with this, like, 8-drop that doesn't do anything. So I'm thinking that's, like, one key swap that I'm going to make at the top end. I like Terastodon a whole lot better.
Gotcha. I like that.
But now, if you would like to see some of the flashy cards in the deck, I want to show you just one. And I'm scrolling through the whole thing just so if anybody cares. But we have an old Birds of Paradise. Love that guy.
Okay.
We have a foil Corridor Monitor, which is my 2-drop. He's like... This guy's quintessential to the deck. He's very important because the 3 mana slot is heavy, right? There's a lot of things that I can go get at 3 mana. So the Corridor Monitor tends to be pretty important. We have an old Soul Ring, old art, old border. We love that. And then my favorite, and I don't know where it is. Is it here?
Please.
I don't know why I love it so much, but it's the foil basic forest from M21. I just love the art treatment and the way it looks. It's so insane. And then there's a foil growth spiral in here somewhere that just looks beautiful. So this is Here it is. My foil growth spiral.
And hold up the foil forest also again.
Oh hell yeah! There you go.
Very cool. I like
just love the art.
I like it at the even at the bottom, like where it's just the little tree. Like how the effect that looks cool.
It's got the little shadow around it, and then we've got the foil Minamo. This thing's awesome. Be able to untap her on a land. Feels pretty good. So yeah, we've got all the bells and whistles, a lot of counterspell package, big removal package. As you see, there's 20 instants in the deck. Most of those are either counter something or kill something. So I have a lot of answers to my opponents. This is, like I said in the beginning, maybe eventually we'll get to the decks that are like of lesser power, but these are all decks in my top 9. So I put my most competitive cards in. If you scroll down, you can look. The average mana value without lands is 2.6. So at any given time when I'm going to draw a card, the chance of it being 3 or less is very high, meaning most of my things are castable at any time in the game, which is kind of where you want to be competitive in Magic.
Gotcha.
Few enchantments, but the enchantments that are there are like really high value. Concordant Crossroads giving haste, Guardian Project and Verity Circle drawing cards, Intruder Alarm, big combo piece, and Wild Growth is ramp. So yeah, pretty much card by card. I don't want to do like a card by card analysis, but when I build these decks, I try and be the most efficient and get the most out of every card, and just have. I think the number one word that I think of when I try and brew decks is just redundancy. Just have multiple ways to get the effect that I'm looking for.
Definitely, and you have to have a backup plan, and so it's nice that this deck is not so one-dimensional that you don't have opportunities to win in different ways. That's especially when you're playing 3 other people and they're all going with their game plan. That makes a big difference, I think, to have some ways out if need be.
I definitely agree. And then, because I'm such a big proponent of it, and he's right here, we always talk about secret commanders. I think it's an interesting element. We've got Erixmathy's Slumbering Isle. So he's a big boy, big 12/12, taps for green and a blue. Once you cast some spells, you can turn him into a big creature. And he's what I would call the beats plan, where if my combo falls apart, I can always just go get a big creature and hope to just beat people's health down that way with a big 12/12.
Gotcha.
Makes short work of them. But yeah, man, that is my Prime Speaker Vannifar Commander deck. I will put the link to the Mox field in the details of the video and the audio if you're listening on Anchor. But yeah, that was Prime Speaker Vannifar on the tall and short of it. Aaron, what you got for the end of the pod here?
Not really much else. Just want to thank everyone, of course, for listening to another episode. Keep your eyes out for the upcoming bonus episode 3 that we're going to have coming up this weekend on Sunday for the F1 race. Super pumped for Imola. Yeah, that's about all I got, man.
Okay, let me swap my headphones and I'll say goodbye to the people here.
Sounds good.
We're back here. We got video, and we are live. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Now we're talking to the microphone. You can hear me now. So yeah, look for the race companion this Sunday for the Imola race. We will be slowly working on things as we figure out different strategies, what's going to work for the pod, what's going to work best for the viewers. We are trying to bring you the best content that we know how, and as we learn more, we'll bring it to you guys. But that is another episode of the Tall and Short of It. Peace out, everybody.
Later, everyone.